Hello, this is Dirk Wheeldryer. It was my honor and privilege to serve as interim superintendent of Muskegon Public Schools during the summer of 2019. Superintendent Matt Cortez asked me to record this presentation to maintain the consistency of our message. This is the same presentation that was presented to our community meetings in September 2019. This is being recorded on September 24th, 2019, and reflects the status of our proposal as of this date and time. There is more discussion yet to come on various elements of the proposal, as we will discuss as we go through. First of all, the first question is what are we going to be looking at, and two things very quickly to cover today. First is the background information that will provide you with more detail about the timing and what is being looked at currently in the project. Then, if you had attended one of our community meetings, we gave opportunity to answer questions and provide input. You will have the opportunity to provide your input using our survey tool that we will get to at the end of the presentation. The next question is, why is the district seeking this now? The first point to be made is that our facilities need upgrading. They need to be upgraded to provide the best learning opportunity that we can have for our students. And as the 21st century continues to roll along, we are in many cases still dealing with learning environments from the early 20th century, and those need to be upgraded. The other point about now is that a bond question being provided now is going to give the district and taxpayers an opportunity to fund very important and significant improvements at no additional millage for taxpayers, and we will talk about that here briefly. First thing I'd like to just quickly cover is how a bond issue works. Some folks may know, but some folks may not know about how bond proposals work. So, what a bond proposal is, bonds are investments that are sold off to investors, and what we try to do is get the lowest possible interest rate as we sell those. They are typically sold for a payoff period of 30 years, much like a conventional home mortgage. And just like those conventional home mortgages, therefore, the lower interest rate we get means that our cost of borrowing money will be less. And so that is a good thing for us as a district. We will need less money to pay off the debt over the long run, over the course of that 30 years. When it comes to what we can do with that money, we need to know how much money we're going to be able to generate. So when we try to design a project, we look at how much money we're going to be able to generate at a given millage rate, and this is the amount then that we have to work within. We then take that amount and that scope of the bond project, and those must be approved by the state of Michigan before it can be put on the ballot and be brought to voters. And that proposal must have that specific dollar amount included. And so that will be a part of our preparations. And we'll talk a little bit more about the state of Michigan toward the end of this presentation. Next, to talk about the millage rate then. A millage rate that's levied on taxpayers is how much we actually need to pay off the debt. Again, thinking of it like a conventional home mortgage, there are monthly payments that a home mortgage needs to make in order to pay off that debt. And in the same way, a school district needs to make payments on its debt. So therefore, when there is a set amount that needs to be paid off, we need to generate enough money to pay for those payments. In order to do that, with property values in the district, a millage rate is an amount that gets levied on all of the property in any given district. And so there are always two factors involved when it comes to taxation. It is the value of property, and it's the millage rate. The value of your property is important in that it gives us our taxable value. Taxable value is supposed to be 1/2 of the actual value of your property. So if you have a $100,000 home, your taxable value is supposed to be equated at half of that, or $50,000. You take that amount and multiply it by your millage rate, and that gives you the actual amount of taxation. Now, when we as a district collect taxes, the rate then can change as property values change. We have to meet our payments, and so if we can generate the same amount of money to make that payment from property values that have increased, we actually need to levy less on the side of the mills. So remembering that connection between the two. So again, the rate will change as property values change, since if there's more property value, that will mean more revenue at the same number of mills, or in actuality what happens is we collect the same amount of revenue but reduce the number of mills being charged to people as property value changes. So where Muskegon Public Schools currently sits, Muskegon Public Schools has 7.36 mills of debt retirement that will be finished with the December 2020 tax assessment. And looking at this chart, you can see that over the last several years, there has been a little bit of variation in that amount that has been charged, and this is due to fluctuating property values. You can see also on the chart that on the far right-hand side, 2019 and 2020, the millage rate being projected is 7.36 mills to pay off the remaining debt that the district has. In 2021, there is no bar shown there because that is the end of the current existing debt. So what this proposal would seek to do is to take that amount in 2021 then and continue to extend that out at that same 7.36 mills amount. On your screen it's showing as value, but you see the bar is the same, and that's 7.36 mills would be the amount in 2021, and then moving forward that same process would work. And over time, as property values increase, that millage rate can actually go down. When we look then at where this sweet spot is in time, by renewing and extending that millage rate, we're going to be able to generate significant new revenues at no additional cost to taxpayers. Now, last spring, in the meetings that were held in March and in May, the amount that was shared with folks was that we were estimating at that time $77 million would be able to be raised for that same 7.36 mills. However, we've had some good news since that time. There have been three factors that have played into some better news for us as a district. First, the property values within the district continue to grow. Secondly, interest rates since that time are lower than they were back in the spring. And third, through some modifications made to our strategy for selling off the bonds, we believe that the combination of those three factors together, our financial advisors have looked into this, and they believe that at least an additional $10 million may now be available for that 7.36 mills amount. So that would bring the total to $87 million that we would be looking at as the amount to be able to spend on this project. When we take then a look at the amount that of our needs, on the needs side within the district, we should talk about a couple of things. First of all, throughout the year 2018, a review was made of all of our Muskegon Public Schools facilities, and that study estimated that $210 million would be needed in repairs across the district to bring the current district facilities back up to a like-new condition. Now, if you compare that $210 million figure to the amount I was just mentioning, $87 million, which we're going to be able to generate, you can see that we're not going to be able to do everything. The amount is more than 2.4 times what we're able to generate. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is that maintaining and operating all of those facilities, that cost would also still be high. And right now, the amount of facility space that Muskegon Public Schools has is more than the district needs. So in the course of this project, we will be prioritizing. We'll be prioritizing the work that's possible to be done, and we will also prioritize the building space that we need. Now, when we look at designing a bond project, it's important to keep in mind some basic principles that we have to try and balance as we look at that amount of money we have available. First and foremost, we are trying to create the best possible learning environments for our students that will prepare them for their future. We are now deep into the 21st century, and we want to continue to be able to improve and upgrade our facilities so that we can meet our charge there of getting students ready for the future. Safety is also a crucial element, and we will be having a major part of this, of the projects involved here will improve safety. We want to have our facilities that will be attractive to families, both our current families and hopefully other families that we can attract to the district. Convenience and improving convenience for our families is an important element of what we want to try and do. We want to greatly improve our efficiency. There are various things right now with the way the district is set up that make it not as efficient as it could be, particularly when we're looking to try and share resources and staff between the middle school and the high school. There are some issues with that. We want to try and be able to reduce our costs, our long-term costs as we operate our facilities, and improve our ease of maintenance. Right now, with much of our equipment dating back to the middle to early part of the last century, this makes for some very difficult maintenance challenges for us. And sometimes when things break, parts must be special ordered. And there is just simply not that kind of efficiency that we would have today. We want to be very sensitive to the wonderful history that's here within the district. Many of our buildings have seen a wonderful and long life. They have a lot of connection to folks, and so we want to be sensitive to those historical needs. We have, obviously, though, a limited budget, as we were just talking about. We have $87 million available to spend, and far greater needs than that. So we have to design a bond project that's going to be able to achieve all these different things on a limited budget. And finally, we need a proposal that is going to be appealing to our constituents, to our voters. So all of those different things need to be looked at as we consider what's going to be in our bond project. Now, our planning to date. This is what's gone on up until now. And again, I'm speaking to you in September of 2019. There's been a team that's been at work for quite a while now, several months, to identify priorities for this project, and there have been many plans that have been discussed and reviewed. They have been shared with the public at community meetings in both March and May of last year. Based on the input received at those meetings, the team went back and did extensive revisions and continued to look at the scope of the project and the organization of the district as it would look coming out of this bond proposal. And with all that in mind, they have also continued to try and balance all those things that were just being referenced on the previous page, trying to create the best possible learning environments in the best places that will give us the most efficiency and will be able to be achieved at the lowest cost. So these are all the sorts of factors that are taken into account as we plan.